Welcome to the deep dive. You know how this works. You send us the interesting stuff, the complex reads, and, well, we dive in and pull out the core ideas.
Yeah,
And today we're looking at something one of you shared, Peter Joseph's The Integral Project. It's quite a proposal.
it really is. We're
Mhm.
talking about a full model for basically a post-money society, a
Yeah.
completely different way of thinking about an economy.
So our mission today, if you will, is to kind of unpack that, understand the main parts, the thinking behind it.
Exactly. It's radical stuff. Some ideas
Mhm.
about work, resources, even money itself that might, well, surprise you.
Okay, let's jump in then. The absolute core, the central idea is this. Post-monetary cooperative economy. What does that actually mean?
Fundamentally, it paints a picture of a world where money, as we know it, just isn't needed. It's obsolete.
No money. How?
Well, instead of markets and buying and selling, it relies heavily on decentralization.
Hmm.
This idea of cybernetic coordination, basically smart systems helping organize things.
Hmm.
The driving force shifts, you know, away from profit towards, well, mutual aid,
Hmm.
cooperation, helping the community.
Right, and the article mentions tracking labor differently too, not with salaries, but with
Oh,
non-transferable reputation-based time credits.
exactly. That's a huge shift. The idea isn't that you earn credits to spend. It's more like a ledger. It records your
A
contribution.
ledger, like bookkeeping.
Sort of, yeah. It notes down that you contributed valuable work or an idea or helped manage something. But crucially, you can't trade these credits. It's not currency.
Yeah.
It's about acknowledging your role, your value within the community, not about building personal wealth you can exchange.
Yeah.
It shifts the focus from what's in it for me financially
Hmm.
to how am I contributing to the collective good.
Okay, I get the concept, but how does a society actually run like that without financial incentive? The article threw around terms like federated and autonomous nodes.
Right, let's break that down. Imagine a network. It's made up of local communities, maybe regions. These are the nodes. And they're federated, meaning they're linked together, but they're also autonomous, so they have a lot of freedom to manage their own local affairs, local control, but part of a bigger whole.
Gotcha. And the cybernetically coordinated commons? That sounds intense.
Yeah, it sounds techy, but think of it like the system's nervous system. It uses self-regulating mechanisms, feedback loops, kind of like how an ecosystem maintains balance naturally.
Oh, interesting analogy, like a forest finding its own equilibrium.
Exactly like that. And the idea is to use technology like AI and algorithms to constantly look at data resource levels, needs, environmental impact, and help distribute things efficiently and sustainably across the whole network.
So AI plays a pretty central role in managing things.
A very central role. It's about making the whole system intelligent and adaptive, able to respond effectively to what people actually need network-wide.
And the time credits we mentioned, where do they fit into this network picture?
They're basically the data points within that network. When you contribute, it gets logged. This log builds your standing, sure, but more importantly, it tells the system what work is being done, by whom, where the effort is going.
I see.
It's the mechanism for tracking contributions to the commons, trying to foster that sense of shared responsibility, reciprocity, not transaction.
Okay, this is a fundamentally different structure, but it feels like it would need a massive shift in, well, people, our mindset.
Yeah.
The article talks about a necessary cultural transformation, moving away from competition.
That's probably one of the biggest points, yeah. It really hinges on this idea. Joseph argues that our current monetary system inherently breeds competition. Take that away, he suggests, and build a system that rewards cooperation.
And maybe a cooperative culture naturally follows. Seems like a big maybe.
It is a big question. He leans on some anthropological ideas here, mentioning reverse dominance hierarchies, citing people like Christopher Bohm, David Graeber.
Reverse dominance hierarchies. Okay, what's that about?
Think of it as built-in social mechanisms that prevent any one person or group from getting too powerful, becoming dominant over others.
Like the group actively keeps potential leaders in check.
Exactly. Some anthropologists believe early human groups operated like this, using social pressure, ridicule, or other means to maintain a more egalitarian setup. The Integral Project aims to embed this principle structurally.
So without wealth creating hierarchy, you need something else to prevent, say, reputation hierarchy from taking over.
Precisely. It's about actively designing the culture alongside the economy to prevent new forms of dominance from emerging. It's a really deep-level change being proposed.
Okay, let's shift gears slightly to the more technical side. The article mentions things like a commons-oriented open design system. How does that work?
This is where the tech really kicks in. Imagine a collaborative online platform. Think CAD software, but powered by AI and open to everyone.
So anyone can contribute designs for anything. Tools, buildings.
Pretty much. But here's the key part. Environmental impact, efficiency, sustainability, they're not add-ons. They're built into the design constraints from the start by the system itself.
Ah, so you can't just design something cool. It has to be responsible, basically.
Exactly. The system guides towards that. And when a design is finalized, peer-reviewed, it goes into an open-source repository, freely available.
Which means innovations could spread really fast.
That's the idea. Rapid iteration, collective intelligence improving designs, no patents holding things back.
And AI, again, with sustainability through AI filters.
Yep, the AI is crucial here too. It's crunching data constantly, resource availability, environmental costs, labor needs to guide production decisions.
So it's optimizing for sustainability and efficiency.
Right. Try to minimize waste, minimize environmental harm, and ultimately use resources so intelligently that we move towards, well, post-scarcity, making necessities abundant with less effort.
And the tech backbone for all this, holochain. Why that specific technology?
Good question. The article points to holochain because it's designed differently from, say, typical blockchain. It's agent-centric, meaning each user basically maintains their own secure record, their own chain, which interacts with others. It's not one single massive ledger everyone writes to.
And that makes it
More scalable, potentially, and much more energy efficient than proof-of-work blockchains. It seems better suited for handling all this distributed data, individual contributions, local rules, the complex sustainability analytics without the same bottlenecks or energy issues. Think less giant public spreadsheet, more like a network of interconnected secure diaries.
Okay, so we're painting a picture of this. Tech-enabled, cooperative, post-money world. But, I mean, how on earth do you get there from here? That transition seems monumental.
Yeah, the article definitely acknowledges that. It doesn't pretend it's an overnight switch. It talks about interface mechanisms.
The bridges to the current system.
Essentially, yeah. Temporary ways to interact with the existing market economy to get things the project might need initially land. Specific tech, materials. Maybe through crowdfunding, grants, that kind of thing.
But carefully, so the market logic doesn't infect the project's core ideas?
That's the balancing act, exactly. Protect the internal non-monetary logic while still acquiring necessary inputs from the outside for a time.
And there was this idea of hybrid business integration. How does that fit in?
That sounds like a more gradual approach. The idea is existing businesses could maybe start accepting these time credits for, say, part of the payment for their goods or services.
Ah, like dipping a toe in the water.
Right. The article mentions the Sardex system in Sardinia, a kind of local complementary currency working alongside the euro, maybe something like that. It lets people and businesses engage with the new system bit by bit without having to abandon the old one cold turkey.
It builds the new system within the shell of the old, maybe. Still, managing that interface, the exchange rate, preventing gaming the system, that seems incredibly complex.
Oh, absolutely. Huge practical challenges there, no doubt.
Then there's the parallel political movement. Not running for office, you said?
Not in the traditional sense, no. It's more about building visibility, legitimacy, creating a strong symbolic identity for this alternative way of doing things.
So making it a recognizable, viable option in people's minds.
Exactly. Showing it's a serious proposal, building support for the values, even if the immediate goal isn't taking over government. It's about carving out space for this alternative infrastructure to grow.
Okay. Let's talk education, a huge part of any society. How does the Integral Project see education changing?
It's envisioned very differently, as a dynamic, nonprofit part of the system, directly responding to the actual skill needs across the Federation.
How does that work practically?
Well, instead of, students maybe going into debt for degrees that might not match job needs, young people could actually be incentivized using those time credits to learn skills that the system shows are currently needed.
So the system itself signals, we need more people who can do X.
Precisely. Feedback loops would guide educational resources towards developing skills the community genuinely requires in real time. It becomes much more practical, much more responsive, less abstract, more about equipping people for direct contribution.
Interesting. Okay, and labor itself. How is it valued if not by market wages? You can't just say all labor is equal, can you? Some things are harder or rarer skill.
No, it's not flatly equal. The article talks about dynamic valuation. Labor value is assessed based on several real-time factors.
Such as?
Things like scarcity. How many people can do this? Urgency. How badly is this needed right now? Skill level involved.
Yeah.
Even the environmental sustainability of the task.
So it's complex, but the goal isn't to create rich and poor based on labor value.
Right. The goal of evaluation isn't profit or huge differentials. It's about balance. Ensuring essential, but perhaps unpleasant tasks get done. Recognizing specialized skills, guiding effort where it's most needed across the whole network. Incentive, but not for surplus extraction.
And all of this, the efficiency, the AI, the open design, is meant to lead towards post-scarcity.
That's the ultimate trajectory, yes.
Yeah.
It's seen as a gradual outcome. As the system gets more efficient at producing what's needed, using fewer resources, less damaging methods, less human labor.
Then basic goods and services become more abundant.
Exactly. The need for tightly tracked labor might diminish over time for many things. Necessities could become essentially freely available because the system is just that efficient and sustainable. That's the post-scarcity vision.
So, wrapping up the core philosophy here, it rejects capitalism, obviously, but also state socialism. What is it then, fundamentally?
It really tries to weave together a few key threads. There's systems theory, understanding interconnectedness, feedback loops. There's commons, governance, collective stewardship of resources. And there's the power of open source collaboration, distributed intelligence.
So it's trying to build something new from those pieces.
Yeah, focusing on principles like recursive organization, think systems within systems, a very participatory democracy, almost like design by doing, where people shape the infrastructure they use, and always with ecological accountability baked in.
The article sums it up as a cybernetically guided society.
Right. It's about using smart technology, AI included, not for profit, but to help people build and manage smart ecosystems for people, optimizing for life and well-being.
Okay, so let's recap this deep dive. Peter Joseph's Integral Project. It's a blueprint for a future without money, based on decentralization, cooperation,
Managed through smart cybernetic systems and AI.
using open source principles for design and innovation, and tracking contributions through reputation, not cash.
Exactly. It's a system where community contribution is the core value, and technology serves sustainability and fairness, aiming ultimately for post-scarcity.
It really forces you to reconsider some fundamental assumptions about how society has to be organized. What if the main driver wasn't financial?
Yeah, what would that actually look like, feel like, day to day? It touches everything.
Which leads us to our final thought for you listening in. If, hypothetically, these kinds of systems, mutual aid, advanced tech managing resources, effectively were technically feasible, what's the real barrier? Is the biggest hurdle getting the tech right?
Or is it us? Is it fundamentally about changing our culture, our ingrained habits of competition, our relationship with concepts like ownership and status? Is the challenge more human than technical?
Something to think about. We definitely recommend checking out the full source material from Peter Joseph if this has sparked your interest. It goes much deeper.
Absolutely. It's a complex and, yeah, really thought-provoking proposal.
Thanks for joining us for this deep dive.